Good afternoon. I'm Todd Jarvis. I'm the Chief of Police of the Eureka Police Department. And this event started with a chain of events in the city of Eureka, so I'll cover those and then I'll turn it over to Sheriff Hansel. Yesterday at 2:49 p.m., the Eureka Police Department received a call into our communications center of a person being beat in the lot at the Bayshore Mall. It was called North 40 lot. The person was on the ground and two males were striking the person with handguns. Our officers responded. By the time they responded, the suspects had fled the scene in a red pickup truck. They then tended to and called for a medical aid for a 33-year-old male victim who received minor head wounds during this altercation, and it was determined that this was in fact an armed robbery. 10 minutes later at 2:59 p.m., we received a call of a hit-and-run pedestrian collision at West Washington and Summer. The suspects were driving a red Ford pickup. Officers obtained video evidence from the Bayshore Mall and showed a picture of the truck from the mall to the victim of the hit and run, who positively identified that as most likely being the same vehicle. After the initial call at the mall, our officers put out a broadcast over the radio to all of our allied regional partners, the suspect description and the crime which had occurred. The victim in the hit and run is a 34-year-old male, and that victim received major injuries during the collision, is in stable but critical condition currently. And I'm going to turn it over to the sheriff at this point.
Great. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. My name is William Hansel, I'm the Sheriff of Humboldt County. I appreciate you all being here today. Our agencies work well together, and yesterday we did receive information that the Eureka Police Department was looking for a red pickup truck and two male subjects that were wanted for assault as well as possible hit and run. We had patrol deputies that were in the area of Cutton, and when they observed a red four-door Ford pickup truck F-250 in the area of Redwood and Walnut Drive, deputies recognizing the vehicle as a potential suspect vehicle attempted a traffic stop on the vehicle. The vehicle failed to yield in the area of Cedar Street, and the vehicle fled from deputies. Deputies initiated a pursuit, lights and sirens, and pursued the vehicle northbound on Dolbeer Street. The vehicle failed to yield, drove recklessly without regard to the safety of the public, proceeded to run stop signs as well as cross Harris Street. When it crossed Harris Street at a high rate of speed, it collided with a Toyota pickup truck that was occupied by three. Both of these vehicles spun out and wound up on the northeast corner of the intersection in a private yard. Deputies, the patrol deputies stopped in the area of Dolbeer and Harris as the vehicles were seated on the northeast corner. At that point in time, a passenger and driver exited the red Ford pickup truck armed with rifles and pointed it in the direction of the deputy sheriff across the intersection. The passenger, at least one shot was fired from the suspects and towards our patrol truck. A patrol truck was struck by one round from the suspect. Additional deputies arrived on scene. One marked patrol deputy arrived on the same intersection on the south side of Dolbeer and Harris. Another patrol unmarked truck parked on the north side of Dolbeer at the intersection of Harris. Deputies observed the two suspects with rifles and engaged and shot at the suspects. Suspects were struck by gunfire. Once they were struck by gunfire, they dropped their weapons. Deputies then advanced on them, took them into custody, and rendered first aid on both of these suspects. At that point, they pulled both suspects away from the suspect vehicle and then safely took them into custody. They then rendered aid to the vehicle that were involved in a traffic accident and tried to create a scene safe as best they possibly could. The suspects have been identified as brothers. First is Brandon Widmark, age 27. He was the driver of the red Ford pickup truck. Jesse Widmark, age 18. He's the passenger. Both suspects received multiple gunshot wounds and are currently in critical condition at a local hospital. The two suspects were wanted by the Arcata Police Department for their suspected participation in a robbery that occurred on April 14th on the 1200 block of Devlin Court in the Valley West area. And Brandon also had a misdemeanor assault with deadly weapon warrant out of the sheriff's office that occurred earlier in the year. Both brothers have last known residing in the northern Mendocino area, but have family and ties to Humboldt County and been frequently come here. During this incident, there were also two additional individuals inside, or three individuals inside the vehicle. There were two additional people inside the suspect vehicle. There was a 37-year-old female. She sustained minor injuries due to the collision, and also a 2-year-old male also received minor injuries due to the collision. The civilian vehicle involved in a traffic accident involved a 42-year-old male driver who sustained moderate injuries, and a 27-year-old female passenger who sustained major injuries as a result of the collision. A 2-year-old male passenger was uninjured. We did locate evidence at the scene. We have one Winchester Model 70 bolt-action .270 rifle outside the vehicle on the passenger side. Also one Marlin Model 60 .22 caliber long rifle located jammed outside the vehicle on the driver's side. There was also a Sig Sauer M17 airsoft handgun located inside the vehicle. The suspect vehicle is being held for evidence, and processing and search warrants are anticipated in the coming days. The involved deputies are, 3 of them did fire their service weapons. One was a sergeant, 14 years of experience with the sheriff's office. A deputy with 6 years of experience. Another deputy had 10 years of experience. One other involved deputy who was fired upon had 5 years experience. Every day our deputies and law enforcement officers show up in uniform, not knowing what that day brings. And we prepare for the worst and hope for the best every day. And I'm very thankful that our deputies acted in the manner they did. They were there looking to make our community safe. They observed the vehicle, they acted appropriately, and right now we're doing everything possible to make sure that this is properly investigated and the suspects are held accountable. There were several incidents around the county that these suspects may be tied to. It's too early to actually tie them to those investigations, but our major crimes division is looking into those. And as information unfolds, and if we can tie them to other robberies or incidents that occur in the county, we will do that, and we'll make sure that everyone realizes that and knows that. I'd like to call up Chief Jarvis again and talk about the critical incident response team and the investigation and the next steps.
So what's next? Anytime there's an officer-involved shooting in the county of Humboldt, there is a protocol in place to enact a critical incident response team, which is a multi-agency response team. First, we determine where the event occurred and whose jurisdiction is that, and they become the agency of record unless they don't have the resources and they turn it over. In this case, it happened in the city of Eureka. We took control as the agency of record, and then we asked for the critical incident response team to be activated. What happens now is we have a group of trained investigators working closely with the district attorney's office. As a co-lead, we've assigned a detective from the Eureka Police Department to be the lead investigator with our co-lead, and we will conduct this investigation from start to finish, and eventually we will be sending a case to the district attorney's office for potential prosecution. These are very labor-intensive cases, and that's why I'm really pleased that the County of Humboldt works together so well. Each agency has provided personnel to this, whether it's investigators or evidence technicians, and certainly the prosecution that we hope to follow. while we're here, I would like to also echo the sheriff's statements in that we're very blessed that his deputies are okay. They put their lives on the line for the people of this community. And again, as you said, we never know what's going to happen any given day. And they show up, and they showed up again today, all over this county to do the same thing. So we're pleased that your people are okay, Sheriff. I haven't asked anyone with any further information regarding this case or any other potential cases that these two suspects are involved in to please call Detective Raymond Nunez of the EPD. And I have a number for you. It's 707-441-4109. And I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the community. They displayed a lot of patience yesterday as we shut off some major roadways, and I know schools were affected, so I'd like to thank the city school district and the superintendent who was in contact with us immediately, and also our regional partners. It was definitely a team effort yesterday. We had officers and detectives and command staff from every agency in the county either showing up or calling and checking in. So it's an incident that I'm again happy that our deputies are okay, and we will be getting to the bottom of it, and we're here to answer any questions that we can at this point. Thank you.
So are there any questions?
Is there any video of the incident?
So the video is limited. We did have body worn cameras. There were not, cameras were not activated at the time of this incident. But we did capture some video just afterwards, and there was some private video that was uncovered that does show certain segments of this incident. Yes?
Jackson with the Times Standard.
Thank you.
So what were the specific injuries that the 27-year-old female bystander sustained, and is she still in the hospital?
The 27-year-old bystander, which one? Because there were several incidents that occurred.
The one with the car with 3 people in it.
Okay.
That, crashed into on Harris.
Gotcha. Yeah, so she's received major injuries inside the Toyota pickup truck. She was the passenger.
Mm-hmm.
And so she received major injuries, and so she's still receiving treatment.
Gotcha. And do you know what those specific injuries were?
Lower body injuries is what I do recall.
Do you know is there any idea of how many shots were fired by deputies?
The investigation is still ongoing. The deputies involved are going to be interviewed and to determine how many shots were fired. There was evidence that collected on scene that did prove that there was multiple shots fired by at least 2 deputies. So when all that does come together, we will release that information. This report will be released at the appropriate time per 1421 and 832.7 of the penal code.
And I'm sorry, just to follow up. So the deputies did have body cam,
Deputies, yes, there were deputies that did have body cams.
but they weren't turned on at
They
the time?
weren't turned on during the time, yes.
But they were turned on after the incident
Yes.
had concluded?
That's correct.
And then there's some private video that we've been able to recover.
That is correct. This incident did get witnessed by several civilians, as well as a social worker that was on a ride-along. Part of our MISS team did witness this as well. And so all the witnesses have been, are being interviewed, have been identified, but we still know this is a very busy intersection. A lot of other people could have seen something, so we definitely want those people that had any kind of information regarding this incident to please call the Eureka Police Department, because we're still trying to tie everything together.
So yesterday there was a possible third party that they initially thought might be a suspect that was actually just a witness. Could you clarify, was that person, did they witness the thing, or did they just come after they heard the car wreck?
So after the car accident happened, there was a Good Samaritan that came in to try and and try to help out the situation, not knowing the gravity of the situation, just thought it was a traffic accident. And once shots were fired, they got out of there. Thankfully, they were not injured, and they hunkered down in an area that was a short distance away. Once the shots were fired, he went back to his residence, but then came out later and let us know who he was.
Is there a timeline for recovery for the suspects who are currently in critical condition?
At this time, no. They do have really serious injuries, and they are, again, at a local hospital getting treatment. And once they are able to be released, we will be arresting them, transferring them to our correctional facility, and sending an investigation and a complaint to the district attorney's office for review. Yes, Isabel.
Following up on Tim's question, why were the officers' body cams off?
That's going to be a question that we do ask. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry. Do we know what speeds this was reached?
At this point in time, it's still under investigation. California Highway Patrol is assisting with the investigation, and we did ask for the California Highway Patrol MATE team to come in and download data associated with each of the vehicles. They've agreed to do that, and so their major accident investigation team will be coming in and do basically a vehicle autopsy on that critical information that they can download. So we'll determine what the speeds were at the time of the accident.
Do you know how many shots the suspects fired?
We know of at least one shot that was fired based upon a shell casing that was found at the scene.
Which gun was it fired from?
The 270. And we do have a gunshot, basically a hole in our patrol truck that is consistent with that 270 round.
There was also a broken window in one of the patrol trucks in the rear. Was that part of that incident?
Yes.
Right.
Any other questions at all?
Other than the brief lockdown, were there any other impacts to Washington Elementary?
I'll let the chief discuss that.
No, they wisely locked the school down when they heard the commotion. And when we determined that there was no further danger to the community, the assistant chief communicated with the superintendent and gave them advice on what they locked in.
And I'm sorry, I wrote too fast. Can you clarify the last name of the suspects?
Last name is spelled Widmark. Widmark. Brandon, age 27. Jesse, age 18. And we have significant history with Brandon.
When they resided in Arcata, when they resided in Humboldt County, do we know where they lived?
Where they lived? They lived in the Myrtle Avenue area. And we have potentially an address in Arcata as well.
Will it be possible to get copies of their photos?
Yes.
You just send those out in a release, or?
Yeah, we'll make sure to follow up.
We're working on a press release with all of this information, and that'll come out later this evening.
They're both still in the area hospital though? They weren't flown out of the area for treatment?
That is correct.
Have you been able to speak with them at all? Are they?
You know, that's part of this ongoing investigation. So there's a lot of details that we're gaining as we speak, and we will share that information when it's appropriate.
Is the hospital St. Joe's?
we don't want to release that information.
Gotcha.
They are under security. We have deputy sheriffs and police officers that are there and providing security for these suspects. Any last questions before we wrap it up? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all being here. Sam will be releasing more information from our PIO, and we'll have information as it's coming in. We'll push it out through press release. Really appreciate it.